everyone, today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the BenQ. This is their GW2490T 24-inch 1080p 100Hz IPS display. BenQ did send me the sample, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this monitor or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Back to school season's upon us, so maybe you're a student looking for a new computer monitor. Well, with eye care technology and long periods of use, you'll appreciate having that feature to help reduce strain on your eyes as you spend hours looking at your display. Also, with the 100 Hz refresh rate, who says you can't have a little fun too with some casual gaming? So work, school, and play, this might be the monitor for you. Here's a look at the retail box and packaging. Very simple and straightforward. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and see what's inside. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature consisting of a quick start guide, safety information, and warranty info. Moving right along, we have our power cord and cable. We have an HDMI cable right here. And we have our base plate. Very heavy. And we have tool-free installation right there, which is great. We're going to attach this piece to the monitor arm. And we have our product info right there on the back of it. This will be height adjustable. We'll have tilt as well. And then last but not least, we have the monitor itself. Let's look at this in more detail. Starting with the back of the monitor, we got the BenQ logo and branding front and center. VESA mount as well as the included stand will be mounted right here with a stand release button. Nice texture on this side, grooved and cut into the plastic cover. I really like that pattern. I want to see that on the other side as well. Then further down, we have our Kensington security lock, some product info there, 2 HDMI ports, 1 DisplayPort, and our headphone jack. We also have our power cord plug option right there. This monitor does have built-in speakers. We have all of our menu control and power buttons right here, and the power button does illuminate. That's going to be the clear button that you see there. Let's take a look at it from the side, get a feel for the thickness. We can do bird's eye view from the top down. Now we can look at it from the front and center, 24 inches measured diagonally, near bezel-less design. The pixels themselves stop right at the tip of my thumb. There's a little bit of black to the edge there. We got our menu buttons and controls here, BenQ logo and branding. Now let's go ahead, let's get this set up. Now you're looking at the monitor with the stand assembled. This stand is very versatile. This is our max height option, but we do have height adjustments. There's gonna be your lowest, there's gonna be your tallest, or you can settle somewhere in between. We have rotation, so we can rotate it and pivot it to the left and to the right. We can also move it around if you wanna change your viewing experience. Do you wanna go to vertical or portrait viewing? You have that functionality with this monitor. And then lastly, we also have tilt. There's our max tilt down. Here's our max tilt back. So we can tilt, we can rotate, swivel, do everything we would want with the included stand, which is great to see. Usually monitors at this price point, that's not something you get. Uncertain what screen size you should get? Well, you're in luck. We have the 24-inch and 27-inch version here side by side, so you can get a better feel. Spec on spec, they're the same stand, same everything else. The only difference here is the screen real estate. So what do you think? Looking at them both side by side, which one is going to be right for you and all of your productivity, work, and play needs? Get a feel for it right there looking at them together. Now the monitor's plugged in, powered on, everything looks great. Let's go over the menu settings first. So down at the bottom, we have a couple of quick buttons to press. The first one's going to be our input option, so we can adjust our input. The next button we have to press is going to be our low blue light plus option, so we can press it. And then we can adjust the blue light filtering. So super easy to get access to that feature. Next, we have our navigational arrows with a couple of quick settings and features, color mode, brightness, low blue light plus, speaker volume. Then we have the full menu that we can expand out. That takes us to our input options, color mode settings. We have our eye care options here. So BI Gen 2, that's going to be their intelligent brightness. So we can turn that on or off, and it will basically read the room and adjust the brightness for us accordingly. All done through that piece of tech there. So we can toggle that on or off. And we got our low blue light settings again, color weakness adjustments, eye care reminders. We have our color settings. So you can really tweak this. Audio settings. We actually have different audio scenarios you can pick and choose from, music or dialogue if you want, so you can fine tune the speakers. Don't really see that very often. That's cool. Then our system settings, OSD, you get the idea, display mode. So different options here that we can pick and choose from depending on what we want to configure. We can view our monitor information, what we're currently getting. So we'll look at that here in just a second to make sure we're getting 1080p 100 Hertz. Let's go ahead, let's configure that within the Windows display settings right now. So I've pulled up our Windows display settings right here. We have to go to this advanced display setting option. We can select that. Currently we're getting what the monitor told us, 1080p 60, but down here we can adjust that refresh rate all the way up to 100 Hertz. Give it a second to change everything for us. Select keep the changes. And now we have our max spec there with the monitor. Now let's go ahead, let's take a look at the different color settings and profiles. We'll go through each one so you can get a better feel for how it's gonna look. Currently we're in standard. I'm gonna go ahead really quickly cycle through each individual preset so we can try to see it on the exact same scene here for our game. So look at that, we're going through each one. I know it's really quick, but I want you to actually see the changes and differences to the same scene as you pick and choose which image preset and color mode option is going to be best for you. It'll really just depend on obviously your own preferences, and are you playing a game, are you watching a movie, you're trying to read stuff online. They even have a coding option here. So we have coding, we have care mode, we have mBook, we have cinema, game, e-paper, a user mode, standard, back to coding. So very nice presets, and they are each going to tweak it just a little bit differently in different ways. So play around with that and find the one that looks best for whatever you're consuming. Moving right along to our UFO test, we'll be looking at the UFO frame rate test and the UFO ghosting test. First on your screen, this is the frame rate test at different FPS values. The current monitor is set to 1080p and 100 Hertz. So you're seeing 100 FPS at 100 Hertz and how smooth that is compared to 50 FPS or 25. That's why it is important. It's not just marketing jargon to have that higher refresh rate. If your system is capable of pushing it, specifically in games, you'll appreciate that fluid and smooth motion that you get with the higher FPS values paired with the higher refresh rate. Look at how choppy that is at 50 or especially 25 FPS is pretty unbearable, but pushing above 50, you'll appreciate having that 100 Hertz refresh rate to see it nice and smooth. Now we're looking at our ghosting test here, just visually looking at the display. What I'm able to see is there is going to be ghosting with this monitor, but honestly, most monitors out there, if not all the ones we've used, had some capacity and level of ghosting. It's not going to be the worst ghosting that we've seen, especially for 24-inch budget-friendly monitors like this, but it's also not going to be the best. But I'd say it's definitely middle of the pack with what we're seeing with the UFO as it's moving across the screen. We are going to see that ghosting effect on it, kind of trailing behind and smearing as it goes. But honestly, really not that bad for what this monitor is. We've definitely seen worse. Now we have a full black screen up on the monitor where we checked it in the dark for any backlight bleed or IPS glow. This is an IPS display. No noticeable IPS glowing anywhere on the panel, which is great to see. And in regards to backlight bleed, it's very, very hard, if at all, to notice any on this particular panel. I thought maybe looking at it off to the side at a funky angle, we might have had a little bit right here, but I think that was just a faint glow still from either my camera screen or from our Echo device right here. So no noticeable backlight bleeding at all on this panel. Now keep in mind, the quality may truly vary display to display, but I expect you to have a very similar experience in both regards. How does the monitor look when you're just casually browsing the web? Look no further. We have a couple popular websites pulled up here. First, this is the YouTube trending page. Get a feel for how everything's laid out, how responsive it is as we're scrolling. We're looking for the content, the thumbnails, all the different fonts and characters here, how clear and crisp they are. Okay, the viewing angle is top notch on an IPS display, and that holds up true with this particular monitor as well. I'm way off to the side, nothing's distorted, the color is rock solid. Everything's very, very clear. So that's YouTube. Next, we have The Verge, a popular tech blog. So we have lots of different images, fonts, we got ads. You get the idea here. Let's go ahead, just for fun, let's click on a story here. So let's click on this top story. Look at the colors displaying. Try to get a feel for how everything looks if you're spending a lot of time staring at a screen. Clear, crisp, really nice. And then last but not least, your favorite e-commerce platform. Doing some shopping here on Amazon. All the product images. Everything displayed very nicely here. Very enjoyable. Now we're testing the built-in speakers out. We're playing the song Dripping with Ice by Music Chef. Listening in, this is at max volume. It's registering a little bit on the microphone. We'll just be quiet so you can listen in. But that's maxed out. There was really no noticeable difference when we adjusted the volume here up to 100 from 50. You'll get a little bit more adjustment going from like 0 to that 30 range than I'd say 50 to 100. Just for fun, I want to switch audio scenarios. So we have standard, dialogue, and music. We're going to select music. Okay, dialogue has like adjusted reverb. I don't like it, at least for music. Music's good though. Okay, interesting. So definitely use music when you're listening to music. I'd say it's going to sound as rich and as full as possible, if you can make that adjustment. If not, leave it in standard. You don't have to touch it again, but really interesting that we have that option to fine tune it. I like that we have that customization option. I wish the speakers were a little bit better, but as I always say, I'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them. This has to be my favorite test. This is our input lag test, where I use this magical red box here and we measure the amount of time it takes for your monitor to display a signal on screen from when a source sends it. Very, very beneficial to have this value be as low as possible if you're big into gaming. So let's go ahead, let's see what we get right here. Our lowest value usually is up at the top. I love to see it around that 1 second mark. That's great. And this is an IPS display, so don't forget that. 1.2, 9.0, 9.1, there, 8.9. We'll just call it 9. And then let's see what the bottom's gonna hold for us. 16.2, not bad. Now it's color time. So BenQ advertises 99% sRGB. We're assuming that's 99% sRGB coverage. Using DisplayCal with our own tools, here's what we got. So our sRGB coverage was 96.9%. So let's just round up to 97, 2% shy of what they advertised, but not bad. And in regards to volume, 107.9% for our sRGB volume. Moving along to Adobe RGB, we're showing 70.7% coverage and 74.3% volume. And lastly, DCI P3, 76.4% coverage and the identical 76.4% for our volume. So IPS displays typically have better viewing angles and colors, and I'd say this is a very color accurate monitor, again, for what it is at this price point. We're not looking at this as the most expensive high-end BenQ design and editing monitor, but for somebody casually wanting to connect their video game console to it, you'll be happy with the colors. You want to use it for web browsing, you'll be happy with the colors. You want to do some light editing, photography, videography, whatever it may be, you'd be happy with the colors. Again, you get what you pay for, but in this case, I'd argue you're still getting more than you paid for. You really didn't think I'd forget about gaming, did you? Let's go ahead, let's take a look at some common gameplay footage to get a better feel for how this monitor is gonna look playing your favorite titles. there, I haven't forgotten about you console gamers either. We have the PlayStation 5 connected, and we're looking at the current video settings. You'll be able to get 1920 1080p at 60 Hz for the PlayStation 5 connected to our BenQ display. And same thing for the Xbox. We have the Xbox Series X here. You can expect 1080p resolution and 60 Hz for the refresh rate. Where does that leave us with this display? Well, let me share with you my final thoughts. I can't find my headset, but I do believe we actually have a headphone stand right here built into the monitor stand. If that's not what this is used for, well, now you have another thing you can use it for. It's even more practical and functional. While we're talking about the stand, that's going to be one of my highlights and favorite features about this particular display. You really don't see a stand of this quality at this price point, so that's huge. There are some other more affordable 24-inch monitors, but they're full of compromises everywhere. You can get a Scepter one or Sansui one, but they're gonna have terrible stands. They may or may not have built-in speakers. They're not gonna have all of that blue light care and the auto brightness adjustments that we get with our BenQ monitor, and you won't be getting 100 Hertz. They typically peak at around 75 Hertz. So there are some more affordable options, but again, compromises everywhere. On that note, this is definitely at the middle of the pack. There's more expensive monitors that offer less spec than this one from the likes of Asus and LG. So really solid monitor overall. Beautiful IPS display. Colors are good enough. Viewing angles are fantastic. Got built-in speakers, and overall just a very enjoyable experience if you're looking for a budget-friendly back-to-school display, work from home, whatever it may be, whatever you want to do on this, play, fun, as well as productivity, this monitor would be a solid choice. Also, if you're just looking for like a second or third monitor for stream chat, coding, things like that, this would be another really good recommendation for things along those lines.